Secretary Rubio says other countries should step up to help secure the Strait. International correspondent Robert Sherman is live in Tel Aviv with the latest developments. Robert, good afternoon.
Hey there, Nick. Well, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, amid this 10-day pause that has been handed down here for these negotiations that take place with Iran, just updated American allies on exactly where these operations in the Middle East stand, saying that they anticipate that there's going to be a couple more weeks of fighting taking place in the Middle East. They do not think that it's necessary that boots will need to be placed on the ground. That's according to the Secretary of State. And in terms of the status of the negotiations, there is this 15-point plan that has been submitted to Iran. They have not gotten a formal response from Tehran on it yet, as they're not exactly sure who the chief negotiators out of Tehran will be. Here is his explanation to all of that. Take a listen.
We haven't gotten it yet. Look, we've got messages. We've had an exchange of messages and indications from the Iranian system, whatever's left of it, about a willingness to talk about certain things. We're waiting for further clarification about who are we allowed, who is it that we would be talking to, what will we be talking about, and when will we be talking.
Meanwhile, as all these talks take place, Israel has vowed to escalate the situation with Iran, and we've just gotten updates from the IDF on some strikes that they've recently carried out. One of them was on an Iranian uranium enrichment facility, an extraction facility inside of Iran, and then the other one was on a heavy water plant as well. Two sites that are key to the nuclear production process there have been struck by Israel here this evening. From the American side, we know that their focus has been on eliminating ballistic missile production sites, drone production sites, again, according to the American perspective, from not giving Iran the defense mechanisms in place to hide behind, according to the Secretary of State, in order to pursue nuclear weapons. There's been a lot of movement here in the last hour or so, Nick, with the Americans and Israelis saying they're going to continue pressing forward even as all these conversations with Tehran indirectly unfold. Nick.
Robert, top leadership in Iran has been taken out. Iran has been hit by Israel and the United States, their major facilities. Yet Iran still seems to pose a threat, particularly when it comes to that critical infrastructure around the Strait of Hormuz. The president has been critical of American allies not helping in to protect that area. Do you expect that to change?
Yeah, I mean, that was naturally a big portion of the conversations that were taking place in France today. And from what we've heard, from some of these leaders, of course, the president has not been thrilled with some allies, but we've heard from Germany, who says that they seem to have a bit more of an understanding of the American position. And then you had France's foreign minister, who articulated exactly what the ally involvement is going to be, saying once the peak of hostilities has passed, it will be necessary to establish an escort system that will provide the necessary security so that the movement of ships can resume as quickly as possible. So it's the expectation that once we come down from the height of the fighting, the height of the operations inside of the Middle East, you will start to see more of these allies being involved when it comes to escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. At this point, over 20 countries have signed up saying they are prepared to assist with that process. Nick.
Robert, quick question for you. You talked about that 15-point plan. Any word on whether or not Iran would even consider anything that's being proposed?
Well, what I would say, Nick, is that the indications that the White House says that they've received is that there seems to be, at the very least, some degree of appetite here for there to be these conversations to hold. Hence, why this 10-day pause has been put in place. And the White House has also attempted to communicate to Tehran that they are serious about cutting a deal and trying to find a way that, on the one hand, ends the fighting, but on the other hand, effectively sunsets the nuclear ambitions that Iran has and eliminates their ability to pose a threat. Because that is what you're hearing from more of the Gulf states, countries such as Israel as well. They don't want to leave a weaponized, threatening Iran intact on the other side of this. But on the other hand, you, of course, hear the appetite from the White House as well, wanting to find a way to get through the war as quick as possible.
Robert Sherman reporting live from Tel Aviv. Robert, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.